a great question and great word, by the way. What was that? Yeah, great word. Um, exactly. That was. I do remember that. But it's a great question because the screen game, whether you're throwing a perimeter screen, something to the halfbacks like we've done, or even something to the tight ends, every blade of grass matters sometimes. And defenses are so good at kind of feeling the timing and rhythm of when the line's getting out to get on their blocks. And even last week, I think of one we had into kind of a pressure with one of the better safeties in football, and Matthew's ability to kind of hold his eyes through the throw, what that does as far as buying us that extra click off of the catch to then get rolling forward, find our blocks, and just kind of the sequencing of those plays to make them all the way through, the release of the ball and the catch by the back or whoever it is, to keep the defense feeling drop back pass or whatever the intent is of the sell. You can't understate it, and it's something that's really hard to, hey, if you're going to coach it, good luck. It's more the feel of a guy and the experience over the years of understanding where the landmarks are, where those throws are going to go, and maybe not necessarily, he's done it multiple times now, have to look at where he's throwing. It's not something you can coach. It's not something you go out there on the field and say, hey, guys, we're going to no-look these. But when a guy shows the ownership of it to do that, it can take that stuff to the next level. Yep. Yeah. Complete ownership of what we're trying to do. And then not only that, the intent per the look, because not every look will be the same. They're not always going to stand exactly in the same spot. They're really hard plays to practice because of that, get the looks, full speed, the targeting, things like that. So when you can, like I said, when you can kind of have that feel for that particular look and how you're going to apply maybe your eyes or an extra step on your drop, or maybe what you're looking at before you even get to the no-look throw of how it sets the defense, it's huge. No. Every we highlighted one this morning. Coach McVay did, and with the team, and any chance I get, just it's always great to when we're in those team settings to even hear the defense's reactions that maybe weren't able to see it on game day, and you maybe hear an AD or Bash up front say, whoa, like they didn't even notice he did it in the game. But it's that next level of kind of ownership that Matthew's shown that's really helped us in the screen game for sure. Yep. We talk about all 11 a lot. I know I've mentioned it to you guys in the run game, but I think that's a stat. Sacks in general and pressures and things like that are an all 11 stat with how we handle our protections from the standpoint. I just think of some of the pickups that Sony and Darryl have had on some critical downs, maybe not even third downs. When you go fast, sometimes you maybe don't get the most ideal protection calls if time is of the essence of getting that ball snapped. So those guys playing with great eyes, picking up any external pressures that show up, and then the receivers separating, winning versus man coverage. Maybe it's a match fire zone. Maybe we're just finding the open grass, but those guys all, contributing to getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands. And then Matthew's ownership to understand, where his quick elements are, where his throws are, maybe those snaps where I'm going to hold an extra click and maybe take a hit, but it's worth it with the ability to get downfield versus some defenses. But another really good question, because that it feeds back to our all 11 philosophy, but you can't talk about, the lack of pressures and sacks without highlighting those big guys up front first. They've done a great job, really. Coach Carberry's come in and his philosophy of how we want to set the pocket, how we want to, have that be the first line of defense as our starting point to set in the dish in that pocket. Those guys, no matter the look, jam, 5 down, drop 8, whatever it is, those guys are doing a great job providing Matthew with that initial pocket, and then from there it's all 11 taking over so that we have a successful play. I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of a couple things. The consistency of the guys on the outside and guards that we've had last year, and to get those guys on the outside and the guards back in those same spots, working together. Another, full off season working together, and then I know we've talked about him a lot, but you can't say enough about Brian Allen and just what he's done, solidifying everything from inside out. His relationship, at the line of scrimmage with Matthew, that is next level stuff. Where I know folks at home probably hear it. We're hoping our opponents don't hear it all that often, but the TV copies catch a lot as far as the dialogue of Matthew and all those guys up front. It's unbelievable to hear when we go back and look at some of that stuff. Of just you pair that with what's going on with the play clock going down, and then Matthew's ability and Brian's ability to get on the same page no matter the look. Maybe it's not even something we've prepared for. Those guys using their base rules as a starting point and then playing ball from there. But it's a combination of Brian's emergence and then the consistency of those guards and tackles being so steady and rock solid for us.
Kevin, you mentioned Sonny and Darryl earlier. Matthew was asked about both of them yesterday. He said they each basically do a little bit of everything well.
Yep.
What does that do for you guys as an offense when you have two running backs like that who you can count on who have that space?
Yeah, obviously you want to get the ball in their hands in the run game, but then I can just think off the top of my head. I mean, we've thrown the running back screens out on the perimeter. We've thrown quick game to them. I mean, we'll try to get the ball to them down the field depending on what the look may be. Their versatility in the pass game for sure, but then when they are in the backfield, we're going fast and it's time to pick up, whether it was Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Devin White, some of the best linebackers in football that we have so much respect for. It's one thing to talk about it and for me to stand up in front of the room and talk about protections with the clicker in my hand, but they have to go out and actually block those guys, extend those plays that extra half a click for us to activate things that may look good from a route concept on a chalkboard, but then you got to go out and block those 5 guys coming, 6 guys coming, no matter what the pressure is. And Matthew's trust in that to know that those guys are going to make those pickups is what's allowing us to continually execute versus some of those pressures we're seeing. I think a lot of times, like we've talked about, it's some of those plays where Robert did get touches and targets in that game. It might have been our second and third progression, and it's just manipulating coverage where whatever they want to play on that particular snap. We pride ourselves on having answers. So the ball may go backside to Van or Deshaun. It may go to Higgs. It may go to Cooper. We may check it down to the backs, or if we can manipulate coverage and attack a void or a man matchup. It's all kind of the same. We're going to find the winner, and that's what's fun right now as a coach is you can really sit back and think about attacking coverage, understanding that the quarterback is going to see things through the lens of how we intended him to see it, and then he activates in the rhythm and timing of the snap to the open guy. So it really is sometimes random how it all plays out based upon the coverage, but if it's a look that we expect to see, it just comes down to attacking those looks with concepts that our guys feel good about and the quarterback can attack. So I see it as all 5 eligibles. I'm telling you, can come alive at any time, and we really preach that to our guys and to stay consistent in how they separate and understanding that they do it in the rhythm of the timing of the snap because the quarterback's going to find you. Yep. Yeah, I think it pairs with the question, that I just answered about targets and who's getting what as far as, all 5 eligibles coming alive. Sometimes it's that conversation of we might have thrown a ball in practice to Van on the front side of something, but Cooper or Robert will say, hey, on the back side, I ran it like this. I felt like I showed up. What did you think? And a lot of times Matthew does such a good job in practice of seeing the whole field, seeing all 11, that in real time, just like we do on the sideline with the surface tablets, or maybe not even needing to see those sometimes, we can kind of have dialogue that will make a good play better and give us a chance to have an even better rep when it counts on Sunday. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's, just verifying things we saw in practice, maybe the look, how it might be different from what the scout team gave us, in the game and how that might adjust what we're doing. A lot of coach speak to say really high football IQ out of all those guys that makes it fun to have those conversations, and sometimes you just step back and let them go, and I'm more observing than anything, but other times it's clarifying something for those guys or maybe circling back on something we need to hit the next morning or that afternoon that was something that needed to be cleared up. But it's about making sure by 1 o'clock on Sunday we're ready to go with the best possible version of what we want to put on the field that week. Thanks, guys.
Afternoon, guys. How you guys doing?
Good.
Phenomenal, as always.
Raheem, you, if I'm not mistaken, began your NFL career on John Gruden's staff and have coached with him through the years. Just curious what your reaction has been to that situation.
I think a lot of coaches express their feelings about being sad about the situation because of their close relationships with John, and obviously, and rightfully so, and that would obviously extend to me as well. You're talking about a guy who gave me my first opportunity in the National Football League, a guy that you've been around and got a lot of quality information from, the quality tools to be successful in this business, but obviously, and I hate to say obviously, but, the things that were said and the things that were hurtful to people are obviously not acceptable in any setting, let alone the NFL setting or our setting. So you got to look at those things and you got to move past those things. And at some point, I think we all got to find a way to bring them back, the people that do know him and the people that know him well. And obviously, for us, it'll have to be him searching out some of the help or some of the people that he has to talk to search for that type of forgiveness. It's always a two-way street, no different than any other problem in the National Football League or how you want to handle it in life when it comes to those things. But you do feel saddened for all the people involved. When you're talking about everybody on those emails, different people that you're talking about the families of those people and the things that it put you through. And the knock on the league and where we're trying to go and how we're trying to do things differently and where things has progressed.
So did those comments surprise you? And I guess specifically the remark regarding DeMaurice Smith.
I will go and say, not that things surprise you, but, people are always taken out of context, and I don't know if he was or not. But you do know you can't say those things, and those things are frowned upon in almost every environment. And I'm sure looking back at it, there's a bunch of things you like to take back. There's a bunch of things that he'd take back. There's a bunch of things that he'd do differently. I'm sure looking about it, you got to find out, and you got to really dig deep and find out whether you're sorry that you got caught or you're sorry that you said those things truly and endearingly that way. This profession, nothing really shocks you. I'm not a person that gets shocked by just about anything. People will tend to disappoint you at life at times and how you move forward and how you deal with those things as you go. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Is that hurtful for you to see?
You're talking about a mentor. You're talking about a guy who's done a lot for me in my career. A lot of people in this building. You're talking about a guy who's done a bunch of different things for all over buildings. I know about some of the things he's done as a younger coach. He's one of the first quality control coaches to ever be a part of this National Football League. Of course, it was hurtful for me, personally, because you wanted to grind and you wanted to get to those moments and do some of those things. But still, doesn't excuse the behavior, doesn't excuse the lack of the poor judgment. However you want to put it, just it doesn't excuse those things.
Do you feel as if the league is doing enough to send a welcoming message to some of the groups that were disparaged?
When you talk about the league, I think the league, first of all, I'll commend the league. Roger Goodell, Donna Ponte, Troy Vincent. You're talking about Stephanie. You're talking about Megan. Some of those people all in the work in the league office that are part of those groups and a part of fixing change and bringing about change in the National Football League. They're trying. But this message and these things that they come up, that just lets you know there's way more work to be done. When you're talking about inclusion, you're talking about people being sensitive to other people's feelings and all those type of things. I think they do a great job of trying to make those things happen. And just the names I called out, you're talking about an African-American and Troy Vincent. You're talking about women across the board, the Stephanies, the Donna Pontes, all those type of people. I think those guys are showing you where the league is going and where our game is going and what we're trying to do and being inclusive and all the type of things. But when things like this happen, just let you know there's still so much work to be done in our country. Just not alone just in the NFL football, but the league definitely sets precedents. It definitely does a nice job of trying to get those things out. We're not perfect, by any means, and they certainly won't be either. And I think if we're expected to think that, I think that's our fault. I think we all got to help in that journey, moving that way. And it's just more of the uncomfortable conversation that people are not comfortable having. It just so happens there's people that walk in my shoes that are comfortable having them. And I live in that life, and I lived in this life for a while, and I'm very comfortable having these conversations with just about anybody.
No, but I wanted to give that some space because thanks for saying that.
No problem.
To move a little bit into some of the challenges you're facing this week in terms of your defense, with Darius missing from the roster for the next couple weeks, I know you can't get in too much to the game planning
Sure.
and schematic reveal, but how could you see this sort of shaking out? You guys ended the game with David Long in the slot,
Right.
Jalen back outside, but
Sure.
my understanding was that you guys still wanted to have some versatility with Jalen.
You got to have versatility with Jalen. Darius was a big part of us having that ability to do those things, and now you can't replace those type of guys with one guy. It's got to be by committee. You got to be able to do those things. There'll be some David Long, there'll be some more Robert Rochelle. A potential of somebody like a Burgess emerging. All those guys in this roster that you can use and can use their skill sets. You'll hear the cliche by coaches saying the next man up. It's more like the next men up. The next people up to fill those roles, to be able to do those things. And I think it's our job as coaches to identify the problem. It's the players' jobs to go out and fix them. But it's our job to put those guys in position to best be successful and to coach what they can do and not to find out what they can't.
And then Terrell, he mentioned before camp that he was feeling as close to 100% as possible, but noticed him mostly participating in scout team and special teams. What does it take for someone with his versatility and maybe sort of that rising learning scale to see more time on defense?
You're certainly looking at a big opportunity for him, right here. When people get injured, unfortunate. But it certainly is an opportunity for somebody else. And you got a chance to get out there and show yourself and fill that small role or that bigger role or whatever that role is. And you certainly can increase it by your play. Whether that's playing well on special teams, whether that's playing well on defense in your role, whatever those roles are, you got to go out there and accept those things. And you get better and better and better as you go. D. Long is another opportunity. He had an opportunity where he kind of took a step back, and now it's an opportunity to come back and show what you can do. And those guys got to find their roles and play better. Those guys got to find their roles and play to the standard of their teammates, play to the standard of this team, play to the standard of Sean McVay, play to the standard of us and what we want to do. And there's been no secret. We got championship aspirations, and these guys got to play that way when we go out there and play every single day.
Raheem, how difficult is it to replace a guy like Darius Williams in the secondary in the lineup when I think Sean said Monday basically like the flexibility, versatility he has plays a big role in part with what you're able to do with Ramsey. So how does that impact you, generally speaking, from a game planning standpoint when you have to divide basically one guy's skill set across maybe three?
Not to steal a Belichick, but he's a wonderful football player. He's a dream to coach. He's one of those guys that you can put all over the field. He's one of those guys that provide that versatility for not just AD, but everybody around him. Some of the safety, some of the guys that he's able to communicate with, and how he moves about his business, how he goes about his process during the week. He really enables some of the other guys to get better and better as they go. And it's very difficult, but it's something that we're all built for, and it's something that this team is built for. Again, you got to give our credit to our front office and what Les Snead's been able to do, along with Sean McVay, and the coaches all being a part of that with his staff, the Ray Farmers of the world, and everybody in our scouting department, along with our people that are in analytics and going through the stuff and all the things that we do here that I think is very special and unique to other places. We got people in place ready to step up, and I think they will.
All set?
See you guys later. No problem.